In the heart of Monaco, there are moments when traffic doesn't stop because of lights or rules. It stops because someone has arrived. Not with noise, not with drama, but with a presence so controlled, so deliberate, that the city itself seems to pause. These are not influencers chasing attention, and they're not celebrities looking for applause. They are billionaire queens, women whose power is measured not by volume, but by silence. Behind the wheel of some of the world's most exotic cars, these women move through Monaco as if it were an extension of their private world. No rush, no explanation. Every turn of the steering wheel reflects confidence built over decades, not minutes. Here, luxury isn't about being seen. It's about being recognized without trying. This video isn't about fast cars or flashy lifestyles. It's about the quiet authority behind them, the subtle choices, the unspoken hierarchy. And why, in Monaco, true power often arrives without announcing itself. If you enjoy exploring the world where beauty meets billionaire wealth, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires for more exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. And stay with us, because the real reason these women command Monaco's streets has nothing to do with the cars they drive. There's a reason why the streets of Monte Carlo feel different the moment certain women arrive. It's not the sound of an engine or the flash of a camera that changes the atmosphere, it's the silence that follows. In a city where wealth is everywhere, silence becomes the rarest currency of all. Monaco is not impressed by money alone. Here, luxury is normalized and excess blends into the background. That's exactly why billionaire queens stand out without trying. They don't fight for attention in a place where everyone is rich. Instead, they move with an understanding that this city rewards composure, restraint, and absolute self-control. Their presence feels less like an entrance and more like a natural continuation of the environment itself. The streets, the hotels, the waterfront cafes, all of it operates like a carefully choreographed stage. Every arrival is observed, even when no one is filming. These women understand the unspoken rules. Arrive calmly, leave quietly, and never explain yourself. In Monaco, explanation is weakness. Confidence is assumed. What makes this city unique is how it transforms visibility into discretion. A billionaire queen doesn't need to rush, doesn't need to compete, and doesn't need validation. She already belongs. Her exotic car isn't meant to shock the street. It's simply the most efficient way to move through a world designed for people who value time above everything else. Locals notice, staff notice, other elites notice, and yet no one stares for too long. That's the balance Monaco maintains, acknowledging power without interrupting it. The city becomes a mirror, reflecting status back to those who truly possess it. But here's where things become far more interesting. Because while Monaco may look calm on the surface, it quietly sorts people into levels. And not everyone driving an exotic car is playing the same game. Some arrivals mean far more than they appear. And the next moment we're about to explore reveals exactly how that hierarchy is silently enforced. The first thing people get wrong about exotic cars in Monaco is assuming they're bought to impress. In a city where a supercar is as common as a taxi, attention has already lost its value. That's why, for billionaire queens, a car is never a trophy. It's a signature. Every choice is deliberate. Color palettes lean toward timeless tones rather than trend-driven finishes. Interiors favor comfort and precision over spectacle. Even customization is subtle, designed to be recognized only by those who understand the language of quiet wealth. In this world, being obvious is the fastest way to be overlooked. These women don't chase the newest release just because it's new. They choose vehicles that align with how they move, where they go, and how they prefer to be perceived. An exotic car here becomes an extension of identity, refined, controlled, and unmistakably intentional. It's not about horsepower on paper, it's about how smoothly the car integrates into their daily rhythm. Notice how these cars arrive. No sudden acceleration, no dramatic exits. The arrival itself feels rehearsed, almost effortless. That's because it is. The car doesn't announce power, it confirms it. In Monaco, the highest level of status is being instantly understood without a single word exchanged. Around places like Port Hercule, this becomes even more apparent. Parked among yachts and penthouses, an exotic car doesn't compete for attention. It completes the picture. It signals access, not ambition, belonging, not arrival. What truly separates billionaire queens from the rest isn't the price of the vehicle, but the restraint behind the choice. They understand that excess attracts curiosity, while precision commands respect. The car becomes a filter. Only those who recognize subtlety will notice who's truly in control. And this is where curiosity deepens. Because once you understand that the car is only a signature, the next question becomes unavoidable. What happens in the moments after the engine turns off? That's where the real hierarchy reveals itself. And it's far more revealing than anything parked on the street. There's a split second in Monaco when everything subtly changes. Not because of noise, but because of timing. An exotic car slows near the entrance, the engine softens, and without any signal, the surrounding space reorganizes itself. This is the arrival moment, and it's where billionaire queens quietly separate themselves from everyone else. Near places like the Casino de Monte Carlo, arrivals are never rushed. Doors open calmly. Steps are measured. No one scans the crowd. No one checks reactions. The confidence here doesn't come from being watched. It comes from knowing that attention will arrive on its own. Staff adjust their posture. Valets move with precision. Conversations nearby lower in volume, almost instinctively. What's striking is how little needs to happen for the message to land. No dramatic pause, no staged gesture, just presence. In Monaco, power doesn't interrupt the flow. It bends it slightly. Traffic slows not because it must, but because it chooses to. People notice without staring, acknowledge without approaching. That's the unspoken contract of this city. For billionaire queens, the arrival isn't about the destination, it's about control over the moment. The exotic car becomes a tool of timing, allowing them to enter precisely when they intend to. Never early, never late. Every movement feels aligned with an internal clock that doesn't respond to pressure or urgency. These moments don't last long. Within seconds, the car is handed off, the scene dissolves, and the city returns to its rhythm. But something has shifted. A hierarchy has been quietly reinforced, and everyone present understands it, even if no one says a word. What makes this even more compelling is what happens next. Because once the arrival is complete and the street resumes its normal pace, the real power play begins behind closed doors. And the decisions made after that engine goes silent are what truly define who holds influence in Monaco's most exclusive circles. In Monaco, wealth is common. What isn't common is the ability to move through the city without needing confirmation. This is where billionaire queens truly separate themselves, not by what they own, but by what they never feel compelled to explain. Many arrive with expensive cars, designer outfits, and carefully crafted appearances. But the women who sit at the very top operate differently. They don't rush into hotels, don't scan the room, and don't adjust their behavior based on who might be watching. Their confidence doesn't fluctuate because it isn't borrowed from attention. It's built on position. Step inside places like Hôtel de Paris Monte Carlo and the contrast becomes obvious. Some guests announce themselves through movement and volume. Billionaire queens do the opposite. They pause. They let the environment adjust first. Staff recognize them instantly, not because of names or faces, but because of composure. Service becomes quieter, faster, more precise, without a word being exchanged. This is the Monaco hierarchy at work. Being rich may grant access, but not authority. Authority comes from familiarity with power. These women don't seek reassurance from mirrors or reactions. They already understand where they stand. That's why their choices are restrained, their timing impeccable, and their presence unmistakable without being loud. What's most revealing is how little they engage in comparison. They don't compete with other women, other cars, or other displays of wealth. Competition is a sign of arrival. They've already arrived. In their world, the ultimate luxury is control over time, space, and perception. Even their silence carries weight. In conversations, they listen more than they speak. In rooms filled with ambition, they remain calm. That calmness signals something deeper. Decisions are being made elsewhere, long before this moment. And once you begin to recognize this pattern, a deeper question starts to form. If they aren't here to prove anything, and they're clearly not here to be impressed, then what exactly are they here to manage? Because beyond the polished lobbies and quiet confidence lies a network of influence that rarely shows itself, yet quietly shapes everything that follows. By the time a billionaire queen steps away from her exotic car, the vehicle has already done its job. It wasn't meant to be the highlight, it was the transition. In Monaco, cars are not destinations. They are connectors between worlds that rarely overlap for ordinary visitors. Follow the path beyond the street and a much larger ecosystem begins to reveal itself. The car leads to private entrances, discreet elevators, and waterfront access points that never appear on maps. Around Port Hercule, yachts idle quietly, not as symbols of excess, but as operational hubs. Meetings happen on decks, conversations remain off-record, and schedules move according to tides rather than clocks. Above it all, penthouses glow softly against the hillside. These residences aren't decorated to impress guests. They're structured to control privacy, views, and movement. Everything is designed to reduce friction and increase command over time. The exotic car simply links these spaces together with precision. What makes this network fascinating is how invisible it is to outsiders. Tourists see cars, locals see patterns. But those within the circle understand that the true assets aren't parked on the street. They float in the harbor, rise above the skyline, and exist inside agreements that never leave the room where they were made. Billionaire queens navigate this ecosystem with ease because it was built for people like them. Each movement is intentional, each stop part of a larger rhythm. Nothing feels rushed because nothing is left to chance. Even leisure is scheduled with purpose. And this is where the illusion breaks. Once you realize the car is only the smallest visible layer of influence, curiosity naturally shifts. If this is just the surface, if the real power operates beyond the street and behind closed doors, then the next question becomes unavoidable. How do these women move through Monaco without ever appearing to move at all? The answer lies not in where they go next, but in how they are already positioned before the journey even begins. In Monaco, how you drive matters far more than what you drive. Along roads like Avenue Princess Grace, speed is rarely the signal of authority. Control is, and billionaire queens understand this better than anyone. Watch closely and you'll notice the difference immediately. There's no urgency, no need to assert dominance through acceleration. Lanes change smoothly, turns are measured. The car glides as if it already owns the right of way, because in many ways it does. Other drivers sense it and adjust instinctively. Space opens without being demanded. That's not fear or admiration, it's recognition. This calm behind the wheel reflects a larger truth. These women operate on a timeline that doesn't compete with anyone else's. When time is truly yours, there's no reason to rush. The road becomes an extension of that mindset, steady, predictable, and unbothered by distraction. Even traffic feels different around them, as if the flow recalibrates to their pace. Inside the car, nothing is theatrical. Hands rest lightly, eyes stay forward. There's a practiced ease that comes from repetition, not rehearsal. This isn't performance, it's habit. The kind built by years of moving between private meetings, secure residences, and tightly managed schedules. Every motion suggests preparation long before the engine starts. What's most revealing is how invisible this confidence can be to the untrained eye. Tourists might miss it entirely, focusing on paintwork or badges. But locals, drivers, security, staff, they notice. They know when someone isn't navigating the city, but commanding their passage through it. And that's the quiet advantage. When movement itself becomes effortless, attention shifts elsewhere. Decisions happen faster. Access widens. Doors open ahead of arrival, not after. The drive isn't just transportation, it's a signal to the city that everything is already in place, which leads to an intriguing realization. If the road yields so easily, imagine what happens when these women step out of the car and into rooms where motion is replaced by negotiation. Because the same calm that governs the drive also shapes what unfolds next. And that's where influence becomes truly undeniable. The moment you think Monaco favors the bold, it proves the opposite. In a city saturated with money, volume loses value. What rises instead is restraint. And this is precisely why billionaire queens thrive here. They don't dominate the scene, they synchronize with it. Spend time around places like Larvotto Beach, and the pattern becomes clear. The most influential women aren't the ones surrounded by attention. They're the ones moving between conversations without being pulled into any of them. They listen, observe, and decide later. Monaco doesn't reward the loudest voice. It rewards the person who never needs to raise one. This is a city built on discretion. Deals are hinted at, not announced. Introductions are implied, not formalized. Billionaire queens understand that visibility is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it's used sparingly. Their presence is felt precisely because it's controlled. When they appear, it's intentional. When they disappear, it's final. What outsiders often miss is how quickly Monaco filters behavior. Those who seek validation burn out fast, drifting to the edges of relevance. Those who remain composed move closer to the center without effort. This is where billionaire queens operate, in the inner current where influence flows quietly and consistently. Even social interactions follow this logic. Invitations aren't flashy, they're selective. Circles stay small, conversations stay focused, and trust becomes the true currency. The women who master this rhythm don't chase opportunity. Opportunity aligns with them. That's the real luxury Monaco offers, a system that amplifies quiet authority. Over time, the city begins to recognize patterns. Staff anticipate needs before they're spoken. Access adjusts without requests. Schedules bend subtly to accommodate those who never demand anything. This isn't privilege granted overnight, it's alignment earned through consistency. And once you understand why Monaco protects and elevates this kind of power, another realization surfaces. These women aren't adapting to the city has adapted to them. Which raises an even more compelling question. If Monaco itself moves to accommodate their presence, what happens when a new generation arrives with even sharper instincts and even fewer traces to follow? The shift is already happening, quietly. In Monaco, a new generation of billionaire queens is emerging, and they don't resemble the power players people expect. They're younger, more disciplined, and far less interested in recognition. If the previous generation mastered discretion, this one has refined it into near invisibility. These women grew up inside systems of wealth, not around them. They understand privacy as infrastructure, not a luxury. Their choices reflect that mindset. Fewer appearances, tighter circles, and movements designed to leave no trace. Exotic cars still exist in their world, but the relationship has changed. Performance matters less than predictability. Attention matters less than control. What's most striking is how seamlessly they blend innovation with restraint. You'll notice quieter engines, understated finishes, and technology chosen for efficiency rather than spectacle. The car is no longer a statement. It's a tool optimized for movement within a highly protected ecosystem. In Monaco, this evolution feels natural. The city rewards those who can move fast without being seen. Social dynamics evolve alongside them. They don't linger in familiar hotspots or repeat predictable routines. Meetings shift locations. Timelines change without notice. Influence flows through channels that never touch public spaces. To outsiders, it looks like absence. To insiders, it's total command. This generation also understands leverage differently. Power isn't accumulated through presence, it's maintained through optionality. They can appear when it matters and vanish the moment it doesn't. That flexibility creates an aura stronger than visibility ever could. People don't track them, they anticipate them. As Monaco adapts, the city itself feels quieter, sharper, more efficient. Systems tighten. Access becomes more selective. The hierarchy doesn't disappear. It becomes harder to read. And that's exactly the point. When power no longer needs symbols, it becomes almost impossible to challenge. Which brings us to the final realization. If exotic cars were once the clearest signal of status, and even that signal is now fading into subtlety, then the real markers of power have shifted entirely. The question isn't who you see on the streets anymore. It's who you never see at all. And understanding that difference changes how everything in Monaco truly works. In Monaco, true power rarely announces itself. It doesn't rush, it doesn't compete, and it never asks to be noticed. Throughout this journey, we've seen how billionaire queens move through the city not as visitors, but as a natural part of its rhythm. Their exotic cars, their arrivals, their calm behind the wheel, all of it is just the visible edge of something far deeper. What defines these women isn't wealth alone, but mastery. Mastery of timing. Mastery of restraint. Mastery of knowing exactly when to appear and when to disappear. In a place where luxury surrounds everyone, the highest status comes from needing less, saying less, and showing less. Monaco doesn't reward noise, it rewards certainty. And that's the real takeaway. The most influential figures aren't always the ones filling the streets or dominating the spotlight. They're the ones shaping outcomes quietly, long before anyone else realizes a decision has been made. The city adjusts to them because it has learned to recognize that kind of authority. If this glimpse into Monaco's quiet elite changed how you see luxury and power, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires. We uncover the stories that exist beyond headlines and hype, the ones that shape the world without ever asking for attention. Because once you understand how silent power works in Monaco, you'll start noticing it everywhere else too.